Hello, in this video we're going to look at sample test questions that deal with production. In the short run, a firm can increase its scale of operations by doubling all production inputs. That's false. Labor is often considered a variable input and capital a fixed input. That's true. And C, at least one of the firm's inputs cannot be varied. That's true. So answer choice D is correct. B and C are the correct answers. In the long run, a firm can increase its scale of operations by doubling all production inputs. That's true. Labor and capital are variable inputs. That's true in the long run. No inputs can be varied. That's false. So the correct answer here is D. Answer A and B are correct. A firm has 3 workers. In an 8-hour shift, Bob produces 10 chairs, Bill produces 8 chairs, and Brad produces 18 chairs. The average product of labor is... Well, the average product of labor is output divided by the number of workers. We have 3 workers, and in total, these workers are producing 36 units of output. 10 plus 8 plus 18 is 36. So if we take 36 and divide it by 3, the average product of labor is 12. The correct answer here is C. The average product of labor measures output per worker. That's true. Is the amount of output divided by the number of workers? That is true. Is the change in output from using an additional worker? That is false. That's the marginal product of labor. And D measures the average profit per worker. That is false. So the correct answer here is going to be E. Answers A and B are correct. With 5 workers, the firm produces 35 units of output. With 6 workers, the firm produces 36 units of output. The average product of labor increases by 1 when going from 5 to 6 workers. No, the marginal product of labor increases by 1. So when we go from 5 to 6 workers, output increases by 1, so that would be the marginal product of labor. At 5 workers, the average product of labor is 7, or 35 divided by 5. That's correct. C, at 6 workers, the average product of labor is 6, or 36 divided by 6, so that is correct. The correct answer here then is D. Answers B and C are correct. The marginal product of labor tells us how much output changes from hiring an additional worker. That's true. Is positive and always increases. That is false. Is a slope concept, measuring the slope of the total product of labor. That is true. So the answer choice here is going to be D. A and C are correct. So marginal product, it can be 0, it could in fact be negative, and it could diminish. So answer B is incorrect. The law of diminishing marginal returns applies only to the short run. That is true. Occurs because at least one input is fixed. That is true. Is why the world's food supply cannot be grown in a flower pot. That is true. We can think of the flower pot as a fixed input, so we could keep adding more and more variable inputs into this flower pot, more seed, fertilizer, water, but there's going to come an upper limit on how much we can produce. And D here states that as more and more of a variable input is used in the production process, the resulting additions to output will eventually become smaller and smaller. That is true. So the correct answer here is all answers are correct. Which of the following is an example of diminishing marginal returns? The marginal product of the 5th worker is 10, and the marginal product of the 6th worker is 8. So we have falling marginal product, so that's an example. A is correct. As the firm increases the number of workers from 1 to 2 to 3, output increases from 10 to 18 to 24. So the marginal product here of the first worker is 10, going from 0 to 10. The marginal product of the second worker is 8, going from 10 to 18, an 8-unit increase. And the marginal product of the third worker is 6. So notice here that the marginal product is falling with each successive worker hired. So that's true. C, the marginal product of labor rises as the firm uses fewer workers. That would be consistent with diminishing marginal returns. So all answers are correct. A firm uses 10 workers per day, and the average product of labor is 15. How much total output does the firm produce per day? So it's just going to be the number of workers times the average product of labor, or 10 times 15, or 150. So answer A is correct. For an Italian restaurant, what input is fixed in the short run? The size of the kitchen? That would be fixed. The wait staff? No, that could be easily adjusted. The number of cooks, that could be easily adjusted in the short run. And D, the quantity of pasta, could also be easily adjusted. So answer choice A is the fixed input in the short run. The rest of these would be variable inputs. Okay, using this diagram on the right, the shape of the total product of labor shows A, that output increases at a decreasing rate as the firm uses more workers. That's true. This production function here is not rising exponentially. It's flattening out here. B is correct. There are diminishing marginal returns to labor. C, marginal product of labor falls as the firm hires more workers. That's just diminishing marginal returns to labor, so C is correct. And in this case, all answers are correct. The marginal product is smallest for the blank worker, the first worker, fourth worker, 10th worker, or third worker. And it's going to be the 10th worker. Okay, so the 10th worker, where we're getting on the flat of the curve, we're going to have the smallest marginal product of labor. All right, using this diagram, the marginal product of the second worker is, so we look at the second worker. When we have 2 workers, output is 5. When we have 1 worker, output is 3. So the increase in output from hiring 1 more worker, going from 1 to 2, is a 2-unit increase. So the correct answer here is C, 5 minus 3. The average product of labor with 7 workers. 7 workers produce 11 units of output. So the correct answer is going to be 11 divided by 7. Answer choice A. At 10 workers, the firm's average product of labor is 20. Suppose the firm hires an additional worker and output increases by 18. Which of the following statements are true? The marginal product of labor of the new hire is 18. That's true. The firm's average product of labor will fall below 20. That's true. When the marginal product is below the average product, it'll pull the average product down. The marginal product of labor is less than average product of labor. That's true. We just stated that for answer choice B. The average product of labor is, so we're going to get the total output. So the total output is going to be 10 workers times 20, plus we hire an additional worker that produces 18. So 218 divided by 11, we get the average product of labor. So all answers are correct. If the marginal product of labor is greater than the average product of labor, the average product of labor must be negative, no. Increasing, that's true. When the marginal thing is above the average thing, it's going to pull up the average thing. Decreasing, that is incorrect. And constant, that is also incorrect. So the correct answer here is B. So when the marginal product of labor is greater than the average, the marginal thing will pull up the average. If the marginal product of labor is less than average product of labor, the average product of labor must be decreasing. So just see kind of the opposite question we just had. If the marginal thing is below the average, it's going to pull down the average. So the average will be decreasing. C is the correct answer. Which of the following equations are true? The marginal product of labor can be thought of as a change in output over the change in labor. That's true. The average product of labor is output divided by labor. That is true. And C and D are incorrect equations. So the correct answer here is going to be E. Answers A and B. We're going to use this table here to answer a couple questions. The marginal product of the second worker is, so when we hire the second worker, total output goes from 24 to 40. That is a 16-unit increase. So the marginal product of labor for the second worker is 16. Answer choice A. The average product of the second worker, average product of labor for the second worker. So with 2 workers producing 40 units of output, 40 divided by 2 gives us an average product of labor of 20. So the correct answer here is B, 20. The firm produces blank units of output with 2 workers. Okay, so with 2 workers, we're trying to figure out how much output is being produced. We do know with 2 workers, the average product is 7. So with 2 workers on average producing 7 units, it means the firm must be producing 14 units of output. So the correct answer here is going to be 2 times 7 or 14. Which of the following statements are true? The marginal product of the second worker is 6. So we just learned that with 2 workers, total output is 14. So when we go from 8 to 14, that is going to be the marginal product of the second worker. So 14 minus 8 is 6, so that is correct. The firm produces 18 units of output with 3 workers. So we know that the total output with 2 workers is 14. The marginal product of the third worker is 4. So 14 plus 4 is 18. So answer choice B is correct. The average product of labor is 6 at 3 workers. So we have 18 units of output being produced with 3 workers, so 18 divided by 3 gives us an average product of labor of 6, so that is going to be correct. Answer choice D, average product equals marginal product at 1 worker, that's true. Notice that the average product of labor is 8 divided by 1, or 8, and the marginal product of labor is just going to be the increase in output from going from 0 workers to the first worker. That's also an 8-unit increase. So all answers are true, all answers are correct. Which of the following statements are true based on this graph? Marginal product of labor is negative if the number of workers exceeds 8. So at 8 workers, here's where the total product is. And if we go beyond 8 workers, notice that total product falls, output falls. So that means marginal product is negative. Marginal product of labor is 0 for the 8th worker. At the 8th worker here, if we're to put a tangent line at that point, it would be horizontal. The slope of a horizontal line is indeed 0, and marginal product is nothing more than the slope of the total product function. So marginal product labor is indeed 0 when output is maximized. This production function displays increasing marginal returns to labor. Yeah, right here. So when output is increasing at an increasing rate, that's due to increasing marginal returns to labor. When output is increasing now but at a diminishing rate, that's diminishing marginal returns to labor. And then over here, when output is falling, that is negative marginal returns to labor. So all answers are correct. Increasing marginal returns to labor results from employers using more capital as they hire more workers. That is incorrect. It's due to this answer here, B. Answer choice B is correct. Division of labor and specialization effects. Total product of labor is given by output equals 4 times the number of workers. This firm experiences diminishing marginal returns to labor. That is incorrect. The marginal product of labor and average product of labor both equal 4. So every time we hire 1 more worker, output goes up by 4 units, just the slope of this equation. And the average product of labor will also be 4. So you could verify this. If we have 5 workers, output is 20. 20 divided by 5 means average product is 4. So answer choice B here is correct. The firm can produce 60 units of output with 15 workers. So 4 times 15 gives us 60 units of output, so that's correct. Answer choice D, the marginal product of labor curve is horizontal. That is correct. Since the marginal product is constant here at 4, every time we hire 1 more worker, output always goes up by 4. The marginal product of labor curve will be horizontal at 4 units of output. So the correct answer here is answer choice E. With diminishing marginal returns to labor, the firm is required to use more workers to produce the next n units of output than the first n units of output. That is correct. B, it becomes increasingly more costly to expand output. That is, production costs increase at an increasing rate. Yep, that is implied by diminishing marginal returns to labor. Average product of labor must be falling. That is incorrect. Okay, so average product of labor will only fall if marginal product is less than average product. So the correct answer here is answer choice D. Okay, I'll stop here.